All right, welcome into another episode of the Goodman and Hummel podcast. I'm Jeff Goodman. He's Robbie Hummel. And we have a lot to talk about. We have some breaking news this morning, Rob. Some breaking news involving your Duke Blue Devils, not Blue Duke Devils or whatever I was going to call them. Coach K's grandson, Michael Savarino, was pulled over and arrested at about 1:10 Sunday morning for DWI. And that's news unto itself, obviously. You know, he's a walk-on the Duke team. He's 20 years old. He's underage. But the bigger news is that there was somebody in the back seat, one of his teammates named Paolo Banchero. And Paolo was also arrested for aiding and abetting DWI. And I guess what that means, Rob, is that aiding and abetting means that he pretty much allowed.
Gave him the keys. You drive, right? That'd be accurate. Gave him the keys.
Either gave him the keys, or I think even failed to prevent him from getting behind the wheel. So I think it was either knowingly turns over their own vehicle to the other person, or fails to prevent an impaired person from getting behind the wheel. So could have been either, but ultimately now they both got court dates in early December. Savarino's is December 9th. Paolo, who's 19 years old, is December 8th, the day before. And the big question will be, you know, what's the punishment? You know, listen, I don't know if you're willing to admit this, but I certainly am. When I was 20 years old, I got behind the wheel impaired. I did. And obviously I regret it, and it was stupid. But I'm not the only one. Michael Savarino is not the only one. It happens around the country. And again, it's dumb. And hopefully this will teach him a lesson and teach Paolo a lesson. But, you know, the bigger thing here for a lot of people is, okay, what's the punishment going to be? Luckily, these two are okay. Nothing happened to them. They didn't get in an accident, anything like that. But what does Coach K do with his grandson? Number one, his grandson, who's a walk-on, who was also involved a year ago, not even a year ago, when the season shut down due to COVID, Rob. It was Savarino who contracted COVID at that point, according to my sources. So Savarino now is had some dealings here that are not favorable for the Duke Blue Devils and his grandfather.
Well, at this point, you're just like, why don't you Uber? You know, like you can. It's so easy. You click an app on your phone, and you just. I just don't understand. We don't know if Paolo had anything to drink. I mean, and look, this is why I think being a college coach would be awful. Like, you're asking these kids on a college campus where everybody is drinking not to make bad choices. And look, we know players drink, college students drink. That's fine. Like, it's an accepted part of our country, right? Like, it's kind of like a rite of passage. But to get behind the wheel in this season where Duke has, I mean, just so much positive momentum at this point. I mean, it's Coach K's farewell deal, and you know, you beat Kentucky in the Champions Classic, and just distractions like this are not good. Now, I would assume that Paolo won't get hammered with a suspension. I mean, if he's just sitting in the back seat of the car, I can't imagine that he's going to get a long suspension. For Coach K's grandson, who knows? I mean, if this is strike two, DWI is a pretty serious charge. I think for teams that want to be great, these are things that you can't have happen. And I'm not saying it's going to derail the season or anything like that, but this is just, you have to understand that when you're trying to win a championship, and that's what Duke is trying to do. They have a team that can win the national championship. These are the types of things that you have to avoid. You know, you have to understand. And I think that when I played for Matt Painter, he did such a good job. He would always say, you know, when you're done playing, you can drink as much as you want. You know, you can do whatever you want then. That's right. But right now, we're trying to be one of the best college basketball teams in the country. And he said that knowing that guys were going to go out. Fun. Yeah. Yeah. And that's not what he meant. He meant basically don't get in trouble. Don't derail the season because of one night out at a frat party or a bar. And this is the type of thing that can do that. If let's say that they crash the car, now you are looking at derailing the season. It's just not a good decision. And I'm sure Mike Krzyzewski just is probably sick about it, honestly.
So they have Gardner-Webb tonight. We're shooting this. We're recording this right now, Tuesday, late morning. Then Lafayette, and then Citadel. So the next three. I would listen. All I know is if this were my daughter, granddaughter, whatever, and she were an athlete, and she were, I'm coaching her in any team, she'd be suspended for the next few games for driving while intoxicated. She'd be done. At least 3 games, probably more, to be honest.
You're not giving the Mark Few suspension, huh?
I'm not. No, I'm not. Especially again, right. Yeah. And I was just out. We'll talk about that later here. Because I was just out in Spokane. But Paolo, I wouldn't be shocked if Paolo gets suspended for the Gardner-Webb game tonight.
Sits tonight and plays going forward. That's totally fair.
Well, what
his grandson should get more.
You know what the game is after Gardner-Webb, Lafayette, and Citadel, right?
I do not know.
Gonzaga in Vegas right after Thanksgiving. He'll be
irony there.
Yeah, he'll be there. He'll be there.
I wouldn't be if they spend him a game or two. That's totally fair.
Yeah,
that's a total.
And
unless something new comes out,
suspend him. I'm not even obviously he's in a tough spot. Should he have said something? Yes, but
I honestly did not know it was illegal, and maybe in some states it's not.
Right.
I thought if you were the passenger in the car, you were you're taking a giant risk for yourself.
Yeah. But
I didn't know it was against the law. And
you don't know a lot of times, right? Your buddy's always, I'm fine. I'm fine. Right. What you have. Is Paolo really going to ask Michael Savarino, Coach K's grandson, how many beers did you have tonight? Like he's not. He's not.
No,
he's going to trust them. He's going to trust them. And
I would think from an optics perspective, they probably have to suspend him tonight, but you're totally right. He might not even warrant a suspension depending on what happened.
Yeah. I don't even think I'd suspend him unless he were blasted in the back seat or something.
No, that's totally fair.
Yeah. I'd hit Severino with a couple weeks. I wouldn't let him go to Vegas personally, especially if I'm his grandfather, right? Even more. Really, though, like it is. It's like, listen, I'm going to hit my daughter harder than I'm going to hit anybody else because she's my daughter. Like I gotta make a statement to her for her life.
Yeah.
And you should for any player. Really, for any player, that should be the case. Is like, no, drinking and driving is stupid. Like, I can't believe I did it when I was a kid. I can't believe how dumb I was to do it. And I got away with it. And I don't want my daughter doing it. So, all right. That's topic 1. Topic 2, and I'm going to let you take it. I'm just going to let you take this one. I'm going to say the 2 words, and then I'm going to let you say, I told you so. And it is Andre Curbelo.
Oh man. Where do we start here? Where do we start with it? Now, I will start with some positive. Kofi Coburn comes back, and that will help him. That will help him tremendously because
it can't hurt him, Rob. It can't hurt him the way he looks right now.
It can't hurt, and in pick and roll, it's going to really change the way teams have to guard them. With that being said, Illinois should never have lost that game last night. Marquette did everything in their power to lose. Missed free throws, bricks. I mean, like what? Daryl Morcell made a couple shots, but for the most part, I mean, Marquette, I'm not even sure they won the game. No, they just were they were the slightly less bad team at the end. I was shocked to see Illinois play like they'd never been in a close game in their lives.
Yeah.
I mean, the turnovers, the shot selection, and most of that falls on Curbelo. Some of it's on some of the other guys too.
Frazier.
But
Trent Frazier has to accept some.
Yeah, no doubt. Alfonso Plummer had a turnover late in the game, and nobody played well. I mean, that was horrible. Curbelo's shot selection, horrific.
Yeah.
The 3-point air ball that I think DeMonte Williams saved is one of the worst shots he could. I mean, why are you not driving the ball and making a play for yourself or somebody else? Now, when he did make a play for himself, he got so deep. Kirkweth is still just beating shit in the stands. Kurquette took the ball from him.
That's the problem,
point
Rob.
guard in the center just takes the rock from you.
Rob, that was the problem. Is like when he tried to make a play, he went
you're right.
too deep. He had no floater. How does Andre Curbelo not have a floater game right now? He's small. He's not the most athletic. Like, he's got to get in the paint and lay it up.
I want to ask you, Mr. All-American. And here's the thing that I have an issue about with this. You're going to say Curbelo's an All-American, and you know what? It's one game. Right. Maybe he still will be. Maybe Kofi comes back and he cures all of their ills.
Yeah.
But how are you not going to just be smart? Con Gillespie. He's good.
I know.
It's a low-hanging fruit. And you know he's going to be good. As long as he's healthy, he's going to be good. He was great at UCLA. He was
so vanilla. Because he's so vanilla.
You got freaking sucked in to the razzle dazzle of Curbelo, and boy, that was a horrific pick by you.
Horrific. I mean,
and you know what? We have to say it. It could still turn around. We're 3 games in, but that was an
18,
awful,
Rob.
awful.
4 for 18, and I think at one point he was 4 for 8. I think he went 0 for his last 10 from the field. 0 for 3 from 3. He's now 0 for 7 from 3 on the year. He had 7 turnovers last night, 3 assists. He now has 10 assists, 9 turnovers on the year. He's shooting 37% from the field, and again, has yet to hit a 3.
The turnovers are concerning, though. And Brad Underwood has said multiple times in his post-game comments about how when they go back and look at him, it's the right read. And last night, he was not making the right read. No. There was, whether he was scoring or passing or whatever, like that was bad all around. It was really bad.
Again, you can't go that deep when you know you're not a big time athlete that's going to be able to all of a sudden explode and finish over the rim. You can't do that. So ultimately, what you've got to be better at is being able to get in the defense and then kick and find guys. And he made every wrong decision. I did feel bad for him. Because,
Did you feel bad for him or feel bad for you?
No, I felt bad for him because I really liked Bello as a kid. He's got a lot of passion for the game. And, he's trying to convince everybody at Big Ten Media Day. And even me, I said, listen, first team All-American, you got to make some shots. And he was like,
maybe you put so much pressure on him that it just is.
I hope not. But I think now it gets in your head a little bit, Rob, because coming into the year, you've got a fresh start, right? You're convincing yourself, I've worked hard in the offseason. So now I'm going to make some shots. And you start out 0 for 7 from 3. Isn't it going to get in his head now going forward?
I think, honestly, Kofi coming back is the only thing that maybe keeps that from happening immediately. Yeah. But, yeah, it's hard when you're 0 for on the season and you're like, dude, I was supposed to be better at this year. There's some doubt can certainly creep in.
That air ball. I mean, that air ball in crunch time.
Yeah, but it's a horrible shot. I mean, it's not his game.
Right. Give it to Trent Frazier. If you want somebody to shoot that shot.
That's Trent Frazier's shot. Right? No doubt.
Because at least he's got the size and he's made shots from deep. Like, go down with Trent Frazier shooting that those last shots. Not. I
think you also have to wonder about Trent Frazier. How healthy is he?
Yeah.
He's wearing that big sleeve on his right shoulder. Right. And he played and certainly made shots and what was he, 7 of 15, 23 points?
Yeah. He was fine. He was fine. But again, the end of the game, you've got a bunch of veterans and a point guard who's supposed to be a guy who can control the game. And it was just poor decision after poor decision. And we'll see. Listen, maybe we did overrate this team a little bit. Now, when
I'm not willing to go there yet. Yeah. I think Kofi is an enormous loss because at the end of the game, you can always throw him the ball. Now, our team's going to double him, and is he going to cough it up?
That's fine. If they double him, you pick your poison. Then you're
but I wouldn't say. I'm curious to see how he is as a passer this year. At times last year when that went in, it was not coming out. We'll see this year. That's TBD. But at least he makes you change your entire game plan. It's a totally different animal with Kofi Coburn out there. So I'm not willing to say that we've overrated them yet. But this is a game they should have totally won. There's really no excuse to lose to Marquette like this.
So I just got back last night from a really good trip. Really, I'm glad I did it. West Coast swing, started with UCLA-Villanova at Poly. So I was at the Garden a week ago now, wow, it's been a week at the Garden, and the Garden was rocking. It was great to see. Obviously Champions Classic is terrific. Duke, Kentucky, Michigan State, Kansas, 4 great programs, really good crowd. But you know what? The crowd is nothing compared to an on-campus environment like Pauley Pavilion, like the Kennel in Spokane, which I went 2 days later. It's just different. And I want to start with that with you. And you played at Purdue. You played in a lot of really good road environments as well. Assembly Hall, Breslin Center, a lot of them. Give me like the best neutral site environment you played in compared to a mediocre home environment. I'll take a mediocre home environment any day of the week.
Totally. I mean, the best neutral site environment we played in was so non-neutral. We played Washington and Portland in the NCAA tournament. Now but that's basically a home game for them, yes. Right? We have 500 fans and they have 17,000 at the Rose Garden or the Moda Center, or whatever they call it now. I'm totally on board with you. And with the way they picked the NCAA tournament now, why wouldn't you do this? I mean, going on the road and playing against a big time opponent, yep. It's only going to help you. Even if you lose, it doesn't matter. Like, you're so much better off doing that. It's better for TV. It's better for the fans. I mean, Pauley was rocking. Gonzaga is always like that. I mean, it's a smaller arena, but it's always crazy. I wish more teams would do it. I really don't understand why. And maybe now that this is the way they're doing the tournament, more teams will. But it's only good for the game. Right. Some of the we talked about this last week. Some of those neutral, feast week events, there's nobody there. Yeah, like I'm doing in Vegas. I've got Michigan, Arizona, Wichita State.
There'll be nobody.
Right. I can't imagine that it's at the T-Mobile Center or the T-Mobile Arena. The place is huge.
Yes.
I'm sure there will be some. And Vegas is a real transient place, so people will go, and who knows? I honestly have no idea. I would assume it'll be a bad crowd. But you take Michigan, Arizona. Well, that's in Tucson or Ann Arbor. Oh, great.
UCLA, Rob. I've been to UCLA before when it's been a dead crowd, right?
Yeah, it's the old wine.
Yeah, nobody was there. The last time I was there prior to this was Lonzo, and I thought this was as good. I didn't think there was many like stars out. I thought when Lonzo was there, the stars really came out because it was more of a fun, electric. It was more of a show people wanted to see with Lonzo.
They showed Jessica Alba on TV. They showed Cedric the Entertainer, I think, on TV.
Yeah, I was hanging with Cedric. I got a picture of Cedric. Me and Cedric were hanging. Well, here's what happened. So I walk in, and the Pump Brothers are there. And I've known the Pump Brothers forever since how about this? I go way back with the Pump Brothers. I did a AAU top 25 poll one year. So, and they had a loaded team that year. I think it was a year of like the Atlanta Celtics and like Dwight Howard, Josh Smith, Randolph Morris.
Yeah.
And I think I had like Pump and run like 3rd or 5th or something like that. And Dana Pump calls me and he tries to play the Jewish card on me. He's like, come on, you gotta have us number 1. And it's just the salesy of Dana Pump. It was classic. I'm like, Dana, what are you talking about? Like, no. But so Dana walks in and he's in there with Cedric the Entertainer and introduces him to me, and like could not be a better dude. Like seriously, just hanging, talking, taking pictures with people, like just a regular dude who was just there to watch a good basketball game. But the place packed up. It was a great environment. There were people out all day. Mick Crone, I think, in the AD, Martin, Jarmon, they were out there delivering pizzas to the students. I mean, it was 85 degrees out too. Pretty damn good. It's not like you're sitting out there in the snow like you are at, Duke, Carolina. And the game lived up to the hype, Rob. It was awesome. I mean, it was as good a game as you're going to get in the first week of the season. And that's what I think is forgotten. And I really thought it was going to be bad basketball early on the season with so much turnover. But the good part with these two teams was there was no turnover. UCLA brought everybody back for the most part. Villanova brought almost everybody back that played, and they played a high-level game, missed shots early, but then they got going, and it was like just a shot making clinic. Juzang, who I talked to after the game, he started 1 for 8. And I said to him, like, were you worried at all? He's like, no. Like, and that's the one thing Mick Cronin said about Johnny Juzang. He said, like, he gives us our confidence that we need, our swagger.
That does not affect him
at all. And it was a big win for a UCLA program, Rob, that I'm not saying – I said the word fluke, and they looked at me like I was crazy. Mick Cronin said, I know where you're going with it. And Juzang was like, no, not – like fluke is the wrong word, and I get it. But the first part of the season last year, the regular season, remember, they were, an 11 seed. They barely got in the tournament, and then they went crazy in the NCAA tournament, and Juzang stepped it up more than anybody and showed he was a completely different player. I felt like, are they somewhere in between those two this year? Are we overrating them? I want to see it with my own eyes. And they beat the Ultimate Culture team and the Ultimate Culture program that has won 2 national titles in the last 6 years, which is Villanova. That was a huge statement to me for this UCLA team.
I want to ask you, do you think that is Jaime Jaquez a good player?
Oh, he's so good. So good.
Is Tiger Campbell a good player?
Yes.
Is Johnny Juzang a good player?
Absolutely.
Is Jules Bernard a good player?
Yep.
Is Miles Johnson a good player?
Yeah, he was bad.
Cody Riley.
Right. Miles was bad in that game, but he's going to be good, and they didn't even have Cody Riley.
So, with all those being said, that's their starting 5.
Yep.
How in the hell can you think they're not going to be good? They have all good players.
Yeah.
They have 5-star dudes on the bench, dude. Like, what?
I know.
Only because between Curbelo and this, I just don't even know if I can even forgive you for these two things.
I just didn't know if they'd be elite. I just, because they were
elite players. They have elite players, dude.
They do. No question.
It's just like, I hear what you're saying, but when you look at their roster, they're better than most teams. So, and they've played together, and they're the same guys, and they're well coached, and they have a good coach.
Yep.
It was a great college basketball game. I had to just murder you again. The Curbelo and the UCLA.
And you didn't even mention Peyton Watson coming up.
I said 5-star dude, minutes. Barely plays. Like, it doesn't get ticked because the team is really, really good.
Yeah. No, you see it with your own eyes and you understand it. But it was more of like the body of work. The larger body of work last year said that they were mediocre. The smaller body of work said that they were elite. I just didn't know if they were closer to somewhere right in the middle or they were going to be elite. They were going to pick up where they left off. And I thought this was a big one, Rob, because next week, right before Thanksgiving, they get Gonzaga in Vegas.
Yeah.
So if they hadn't won this one, and then let's say they get blasted by Gonzaga, which they're not gonna. But let's say they lose this one in overtime to Villanova and they get blasted by Gonzaga. Then people like myself probably start to say, all right, like, how good are they? Are they elite? Do they belong in the top 10?
Beating your chest over it.
Listen. Mick Cronin's done an incredible job, an absolutely incredible job. That hire to me, when they made it, was like, I was just doing this. I was just like, all right, like, is this another Ben Howland who's a little bit more personable than Ben Howland and will go out in the community and, do what he needs to do. But Mick has done a great job and he's got a little lucky. Let's face it. Johnny Juzang bounces back, has a horrible freshman year at Kentucky and wants to come back out west. Jaime Jaquez had already signed with the previous staff and just decided basically signed on like met with Mick for like 5 minutes and was like, I'm still in. Tiger Campbell, they were supposed to recruit over. Remember, they had the kid Deshaun Nix, who was poached by the G League at the 11th hour. And everybody thought Nix was going to be their starting point guard. Bernard was like not even a player 2 years ago. Like most people didn't think he was good enough.
Yeah, he's a beast.
So it's worked out. But what Mick Cronin is a really, really good basketball coach, period.
Yeah. No, he is. And I just thought that the high level of play was so apparent.
Yeah. And,
they let him play, which I like. As long as it's being called even on both ends, that's all right. It was talked about plenty about how it was maybe there was fouls here, fouls there.
Yeah, I talked to one of the refs afterwards for an extended period of time, and he said to me off the record, he was like, listen, there was flow in that game. We didn't
Totally.
want to screw up the flow of the game.
No,
Like,
and that's what the ref's job is.
Yes.
Stay out of the way. Let the players
Exactly.
decide. And if it's not a foul on this end, it's not a foul on that end, and it's not egregious.
right. Let
Good.
him play. We all
Yes,
want him to
totally
play.
agree.
As a player, Rob, what did you want more? Now, again, if you were getting absolutely hammered, you wanted the call to be made, but you wanted to be able to play on both ends.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted the star treatment. I didn't always get that, but
Well,
what player doesn't want that? But yes, as long as it was equal. If it's not a foul here and it's not a foul there, I'm with it. Like, I really am. But yeah, Villanova had their chances, but they're going to be just fine. They are. You said it. The ultimate culture program. They are so solid. They play the right way. Jay Wright's a great coach. And Gillespie's a great point guard. I thought Jermaine Samuels played well.
Yep.
Certainly Justin Moore had moments where he was really good. They're going to be tough. The Purdue Villanova game next week is going to be high level.
I'll be there for that one.
Egan Sun.
Well, I just wonder how the hell Eric
How do you guard the big
going to handle our
How do
big
you
boy.
guard the big dudes? Yeah, that's a great question. It's a great
He
question.
can handle
It's gonna be a good
Trevion.
game.
He can handle Trevion, but I honestly, I think Zach Edey, I almost regret, and I thought about putting him on my preseason All-American, one of the teams.
You could have
I did.
replaced Curbelo for Edie. That's what you could have done.
I'm gonna swap it. Can I still do it? Can I put Edey as my first team point guard?
Man, you'd like to do that now, I'm sure.
I think he can shoot it better than Curbelo right now. From three.
Curbelo might look different with Kofi. We got to give this some time.
I hope so.
That was awful.
I hope so. All right, so I go from 85 degrees in LA. It was 85 out there for 2 days, by the way. I'm not. I can neither confirm or deny the fact that I did hit the beach multiple times.
Did you go to the Thai place?
No, I'm not a big Thai guy.
Man, why'd you
Not
even
a big
ask for
Thai
restaurant
food guy.
recommendations if you're not going to go?
No, what did I do? Remember, too, I'm on keto. Although I did break keto multiple times. I'm back to these
Oh God, those
Yeah.
are like the worst thing for you right there.
ever. But I feel like I earned it. I went from 225 to 211 in a little over 3 weeks.
How tall are you?
6'3".
God, so I'm 5 inches taller than you, and you outweigh me by 15 pounds.
I'm fat. What do you want? I'm fat.
I got to start working out too. I've been chilling.
Well, yeah, you don't do anything.
That's
That's
I
the
can't do that.
deal. All you do is golf and podcast. That's it.
And talk about basketball on TV. That's
It's
pretty
a
much
tough
it.
life. Is that a velour sweatshirt, by the way? What are you wearing?
No, it's a camo sweatshirt.
Looks like a velour sweatshirt or something. Like you pulled that out
The
of
Nike
the
camo
1970s or something.
You're not cool enough to pull this off, but I am. So
When I was a kid, I think my mom dressed me in velour.
when I was at Purdue, our travel suits, my freshman through junior year, velour. I mean, I think I still have them. I should bring them out. I'll wear them on one of these podcasts.
You got to find them.
Purdue, like zip up velour and velour pants, all the same color.
Oh,
One year they were gray, 1 year they were black. I wish we had white ones. That would have been
Was this
amazing.
a painter? Was this a painter fashion decision?
I think it was a Nike thing because other teams had them too. They were so comfortable. You get on a plane in these things, man. You were like, these are great. But we looked ridiculous. We really looked ridiculous.
All right, let's move on to the other big game, which was Texas Gonzaga. I had Texas preseason number 2, which now again, if you want to go through all,
You're lighting this shit on fire here.
I'm like the worst prognosticator of all time.
God. No
I
one is going to listen to you ever
everything.
again.
It's like
Unbelievable.
so. Texas goes in and they play Gonzaga at the Kennel, and they get absolutely manhandled. I mean, it wasn't even close. Drew Timme had 37. He could have had 57. I mean, seriously, he could have.
Why
had
didn't
57.
Texas double him? And I know Gonzaga's got shooters, but eventually you got to be like, this dude is going to score every time if we don't bring a double team. We'll rotate and hope for the best.
Their defense was so bad from the outset. Like first play, you see somebody cutting down the lane. I can't remember who it was. Somebody cutting down the lane. Nobody picked him up, and he went in for a layup. Next possession was like the same shit. Later on, Andrew Jones and Courtney Ramey, I think Nembhard split them, and neither one even, they looked at each other, and Nembhard just like honestly could have done a cartwheel to the basket. It was so easy.
That's shocking for a Beard team. That's
Well,
surprising.
here's the thing. Here's the big question that's going to arise if their defense isn't good. Was Mark Adams the reason, who is now the head coach at Texas Tech, was the defensive coordinator? Was he the reason that Texas Tech was so damn good defensively? We'll see. I mean, again, I think Beard will be okay. And again, you're not going up against too many teams that have guys like Drew Timme and Andrew Nembhard. To be honest, Nembhard was phenomenal. He just runs the team. He makes the right decision. And I give Chet Holmgren credit. He had what, 2 points in that game?
Shots.
Three shots. I talked to him after. I talked to him the next morning, the next day. And he said to me, I give him credit. Here's what I give Chet Holmgren credit for is most guys that are in the mix for the number one pick, they're going to want to shoot the ball. They're going to hunt. They're going to be pissed off. They're going to hunt shots. He can shoot threes anytime he wants. He's 7 feet and he can just rise up and shoot a three anytime he wants. But he didn't do that. He deferred to Timme. He knew Timme was going crazy, and his body language throughout the game was still pretty damn good. He was frustrated a little bit at himself, but he really didn't show it. So I thought, and I asked Timme that too. I said, what's the most impressive thing from Chet from last night's game? And he literally the same thing I was thinking, he said, which was good teammate, didn't hunt, just wanted to win the game. So I think too much is going to be made of Chet in that regard, but it was Timmy's night. I mean, they couldn't stop him. They couldn't even come close to containing him.
I mean, I would think regardless of Chet Holmgren's numbers this year, he's going to be like a top 3
1 or 2. He'll be 1 or 2.
Yeah, he's what, right. 18 years old.
Yeah.
He's so skilled. He's huge. It probably impresses NBA guys more. Now, I mean, I take that back. They'd probably rather see him drop 40. But if you're not going to do that and you're having a game like this and you're willing to sacrifice, because in the NBA, that's going to be some nights, especially when you're young.
Yes.
It might not be when he's 28 and he's one of the best players in the league.
Rob, what do you weigh? What do you weigh, Rob?
Like 215.
He weighs 188.
Yeah. I mean, even my freshman year, I was so skinny. I weighed 200 pounds. Yeah. And he's 3 or 4 inches taller than me. He's physically so immature,
yes.
And he just hasn't grown into his body. It'll be interesting to see how well he can add weight. Like Juwan Johnson dealt with that. Juwan could power clean like 400 pounds and he'd eat like crazy, and he just couldn't
put it on.
He still is so skinny. You see him, and he's over in Europe now, but you see him play even today. He's still really thin. There's some guys that just can't do it. It is what it is. But that'll be interesting to watch for Chet Holmgren.
I was really impressed with Gonzaga because, again, you got a team, and I know Texas, a bunch of new guys, right? It's a new coach, 6 transfers, 5 played. They were missing Dylan Disu, the Vandy transfer, because he could have helped a little bit, but they had no answer for Timme. Like, he was just dominating everybody. And you look at Drew Timme, and you're like, all right, he's not really athletic. He doesn't shoot it from 3. Like, that's the other part of Timme that I was just blown away by. Is, after going through the NBA process, right, they're going to tell him, number one, you need to be able to guard ball screens better. You need to be able to guard on the perimeter. That's number one. Number 2, you got to be able to shoot it a little bit on the perimeter and step out. I think he took 1 3 the whole game, one shot from beyond the foul line the whole game. He knows what he does well, and he embraces it. And he's a really good passer and a willing passer. Like, he didn't have a selfish 37. In fact, like, to me, honestly, like I said, he probably could have had 50 if he really wanted to. But they did it. They blew out Texas without anything from Chet, without anything from Hunter Salas, another top 10 recruit out of Omaha who barely played in that game. And Nolan Hickman was solid. The other freshman point guard, he played with Nembhard.
Rajir Bolton was pretty good.
Rajir.
Yeah, that's what I said.
All right, good job.
Rajir.
Drew Timme can't get his name.
I've done a lot of Iowa State games, dude.
But
they were play a lot last year.
They were trying to teach Timme how to pronounce it. He still doesn't know. He still said, like, I don't know if he said Rasier or so. Finally, it was just he just said, he's like, I just call him Raj or Raz or something. I don't know. But Bolton might be the key piece that nobody talked about, because he's a veteran wing who's quick as hell. I mean, super quick. Like I hadn't seen him in person ever, and he's slight, really slight.
He's really athletic and fast, and he can
Yes.
shoot and he can pass.
Yep.
He's a good player. Like he's just been on bad teams.
Right.
And he would have been on a good team at Penn State had he stuck around, but he left. And then at Iowa State, they just weren't very good. But I mean, I think he was third team all Big 12, I want to say last year. He can help them as long as he fits in with what they're doing. And I would say after seeing that, he's fitting in pretty good.
No, he's perfect because he's what they don't have, right? I mean, you got 2 point guards in Nembhard and Hickman. You got a wing scorer. Then you got Timme and Chet up front. That's a pretty darn good starting 5. And we'll see if Hunter Salas comes along. He's just scoring 2. And Anton Watson was awesome. Awesome. Yeah.
What do you say about Drew Timme being a souped up version of Ethan Happ in a way? Maybe just more so in the sense that they score inside the free throw line. Happ was probably more of a creator. He'd get triple doubles with assists and stuff, but Timmy's a better shooter than Happ by far.
Timme can put it on the floor better, I think, than Happ. He's quicker.
Ethan Happ would bring the ball up,
but he couldn't. He was slower in how he would. Like Timme can get the ball and drive it. Like I don't remember Happ doing too much of that. He would work in the post with his back to the basket a lot and wait and see if the double came, and then he would be able to dish it. Timme can create more for himself.
Yeah.
And he's so tough. Like he's got Hansborough toughness. He does. Why are you smiling?
I just, why do you say that? Like, what do you mean?
Like Tyler Hansborough was a physical beast. Like he wasn't skilled, and that's why he hasn't been in the NBA. And I think Timme is far more skilled than Tyler. I'm saying just from a toughness standpoint of being able to go in there and finish among contact and embrace contact. Now Tyler's a better rebounder.
I was going to say, I mean, that dude was an animal on the glass.
He was. Drew's not that, but Drew to me is super skilled, has a high IQ for the game. And again, like the great thing about Drew Timme, and it's so funny to watch him too, because he's such a knucklehead off the floor. Like
his celebrations are pretty hilarious.
They're hilarious.
Having a great time out there. There's no doubt.
I asked him, I said, so what did where'd you go? You go out last night after the win? He's like, yeah. I'm like, where'd you go? Jack and Dan's is the place there that all the kids go.
Yeah. So
I'm like, you love college, don't you? Like, think about like the poster child for college is like Drew Timme, because he does. He has so much fun. And he said that. He goes, I asked him, I said, well, NBA, when they came back, I think it was like in the 30s, late 30s, early 40s, somewhere around there. And he goes, I didn't need to see that. He goes, I knew. He goes, I know my game. I didn't need anybody to tell me I had to come back or what I needed to do to get better. I'm pretty real with myself and my game. I understand it. And I got to work on some things. And I've worked on really my perimeter defense. That's a big thing. And he's like, I haven't shown it yet, but I think I've become a better shooter than I was, and I'll continue to. But ultimately, my team needs me to be in the post and score. I didn't come back to improve my draft stock. I came back, number one, to win a national title.
That's a very mature outlook right there. There's not many kids that would be self-aware,
right,
and to look at it like that. He's a great player. Fran on the broadcast said he thinks he's going to come back next year.
Yeah, I don't see that.
I don't know where he got that from, but he did say it.
I don't think so. No. I don't think so. No, I'd be surprised. Now, again, we'll see. Obviously, you don't know what's going to happen, but I think, from me talking to multiple NBA guys after that game, most of them felt like there's a chance he could sneak in late first. Mm-hmm. There's a chance. Is he a lock? No. And I don't know who he's like. I mean, that I've thought about this.
That's a problem. When you don't have a comparison, that hurts you.
It's like Kevin McHale in a way, but Kevin McHale was 6'11".
He was huge. And it was a different era.
Correct.
I mean, they were throwing the ball in the post left and right and let those guys wheel and deal. Now the bigs in the NBA, they block shots, they rim run, they dunk.
But can he have a workout, Rob, where he goes into a team and makes, like I saw Domas Sabonis make 65 of 100 threes in Boston. And I was like, oh my God, like that, it blew me away. And Domas walked away and I said that to him and he's like, that wasn't even good for me. Like
I was going to say, you were blown away by 65 out of 100.
He had never shot a three at Gonzaga. No, so I didn't think I thought he'd make like 20.
I mean, like the Spurs 100, the record is like 96 out of 100. Like that's, I understand what you're saying, but I can see where Sabonis would be like, dude, 60's not even good for me.
Yeah, I get it. And the question is, can Timme go in there and make 65 or 70 and somebody say, all right, he's made 65 or 70 when he's never shot them in college. If we work with him and he is a worker, like it's funny again, because the leadership, I was talking to Mark Few about the leadership style from a year ago to now. And you go from like Corey Kispert, who's like this, the most professional leader you're going to find. And then you go to Drew Timme, who's again, like a knucklehead in practice. You know, I'm watching them practice and he was actually on his best behavior, but he's still like joking around, having fun, you know, and like in huddles, I know during games, he's dropping F-bombs and, you know, he's just having fun. He's just himself. And I like that. But like Corey Kispert, it was like, you didn't have to worry if you were Mark Few about leadership at all. Where with Timme, yeah, like him and Nembhard are so
saying. He's towing the line of like
totally. And Nembhard doesn't say anything. Nembhard's super quiet. So it's like Few's probably got to be a little bit more of a leader with this group because of that. But listen, they got a long way to go, but it was really impressive that they beat the shit out of Texas. And we'll kind of end with Texas. And are you worried? Are you worried watching the Longhorns and get blasted? I know it's at Gonzaga, which we can finish with that of where Gonzaga stands among the best home courts in the country. But this is a team that we give Chris Beard a lot of credit because of what he's done over the years. But they got a lot of guys that lost a lot of games in their careers.
That's a concern. I wouldn't say I'm hitting the panic button yet, just because of the fact that it's 2 games in for them, 3 games in for them. Like you got to give him some more time. They do have a lot of guys that have lost a lot of places, and Marcus Carr looked a little unsure, I think you could say, of where he needed to be in the offense. And defensively, they were horrible. But you also made the point earlier that there's not many teams that have guys like Gonzaga's got, and Drew Timme for sure. You're not going to see that again. Right. So not yet, but I do think that you have to watch them, and they're certainly overranked at this point in time. But they've got time, and Chris Beard is a really good coach, and I think your point about Mark Adams is very valid. But before we judge that, you can't say that off of just this game. It's just too early.
And they were missing again. Dylan Disu should be back here in the next week or two, and he was he's their best rim protector. They don't really have one. They're just not athletic. They're not really athletic, Rob. That's what scares me is they're missing, to me, a big time athletic.
They've had. I mean, think about the bigs they've had.
Yeah. Jericho Sims. Guys. Put Jericho Sims on this team if he had kept
Jericho Sims was so athletic. Yes. Or Jackson Hayes or Mo Bamba or,
They've had a lot of them. And and I think he'll get him because, there's plenty of them in Texas. So he'll end up getting him. I just feel like this team, again, I'll take a hit. We'll finish with another hit on me.
I love this. Is my favorite episode we've ever done. This is the greatest episode of this podcast.
It really might be because
I've Jeff taking straight L's across the board.
It's not pretty. All right. So let's go with something that I don't think I can take an L on. And that is the home court rankings, the Hummel home court rankings. You agree with me? Kansas won?
Yes, absolutely.
Kansas won.
It is so big time.
Yeah.
It's so loud. My ears rang. I did Kansas State a couple years ago when Dean Wade and those guys were at Kansas State. Both teams were ranked in the top 15. We did it for radio right on the baseline. I mean, it was my ears hurt for a couple of days.
So good.
It is so good. It's so good.
I feel like even walking up walking up to Allen Fieldhouse, you get the chills.
It's
And
got-
then
it's
the
like,
video.
yeah, it's like going to Augusta National, like with the history,
Yeah.
but also it's awesome. Like
That's right.
it's the total package of it's a museum,
Yep.
it's an elite atmosphere, it's a cool, stadium field house feel. It's the total package. It's not a question for me. It's the best.
Number 2.
This is a tough one. Probably Cameron Indoor.
Yeah.
I think you
I
have to
agree.
go with that. It's small,
Yeah.
but everybody's, and I've never seen a game there.
Yeah.
Everybody says it is so loud.
Yeah.
So I love the students around on the floor. I'd go Cameron with 2.
Yep. No, I don't think you can argue with that. I would go Cameron too because of the students, and they're on top of you, and there's so many of them, and they're sleeping out, and just the whole ambiance of it. So I would go Duke too. Then it gets interesting.
Yeah.
Then
no
it gets
doubt.
really interesting. Who do you got at 3?
Are we assuming these places are at their best?
Yeah. Put them at their best.
Okay.
Put them at their best.
I'm gonna say at their best. I'm gonna go Mackey. I'm going Mackey Arena.
Look at you.
You've
Wow.
been there. You've seen it, dude. It is so loud.
It's
It's
really
so
good.
loud.
Here's what I'll say about Mackey. How about this?
You're saying at their best. I mean,
I did tons of games, like really, really high level games at ESPN. And usually you wear one earpiece, right? And you can hear fine and whatever. At Mackey, I wore one earpiece and I couldn't hear a goddamn thing. They threw it to me. I couldn't hear a thing. After that, I got this thing where you have 2.
cool. Yeah.
You have dual because of Mackey, because of the noise. That changed it for me completely. It was so loud. And yeah, I mean, listen, when you were there, it was great. I would say Mackey's somewhere probably in my top 5. I'm not here's the only reason I got Gonzaga at 3. And because of the student section, and it's small, there's only about 6,000 people, and the students are so damn good. And I think part of it for me, Rob, is I haven't been there a ton. So it's like the intrigue of going to Gonzaga all the way out in another, it's like another part of the country, another world, Spokane, you're at the Davenport, great hotel in Spokane.
You're taking the hotel into account for your stadium rankings.
Absolutely. There's what am I staying at in West Lafayette? The Courtyard?
No, the beautiful Hilton Garden Inn or the Union. They redid the Union. It's awesome. I swear. I swear it's great.
I can't get my Marriott points at the Union, Rob.
All right, that's fair.
So I go Gonzaga because of everything, just because of what Gonzaga is, where it is, what it's come from, how small it is, and the students being out of their minds. I go Gonzaga there at number 3. So you got Purdue. Finish out your top 5. Go 4.
I think before I do think going and doing games at Gonzaga is a blast. The students are great. It's small. And I think I come from a big, so it's like when you go to a big high school versus a small high school. I just think that I appreciate the big arenas that get really loud. And I think Gonzaga is great, but I don't have them that high. 4.
Yep.
Let's see, at their best. This is hard. I mean, like you're splitting hairs with a lot of these places. I could go Indiana. I could go Michigan State.
Yep.
I could go. I think West Virginia at its best is phenomenal.
It's really good.
It is awesome.
Yes. Really.
I mean, would you throw Rupp Arena in that conversation?
No, hell no.
I've never been. So
too big. It's too big.
Kind of like Ohio State.
Yeah, no. To me, I'm going Indiana.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I'll go Indiana too.
I'm going Indiana at 4. It's big. When they're rocking. Those fans are out of their minds. I think I would say
I've been to Indiana where I think it's the loudest arena I've ever been in.
It's so good. So good. And then 5, I probably put Purdue.
All right, 5, I'll go. I'll go Michigan State.
Yeah. I mean, listen,
Brother.
Big Ten does have.
There's a reason that they lead the country in attendance every year. There's nothing else to do where we're from.
Pretty much.
So you might as well go to the basketball.
Arizona, when I went to school at Arizona, it might have been top 5.
Yeah,
it was that good.
I watched the game there the other night. They played their first game, so I've got them this week. They played, I think, Northern Arizona. First game, killed them. It sounded like it was electric in there.
Yeah,
and the way they play now. Tommy Lloyd's got those dudes running and gunning, dude.
Right?
There's
no bad shots. No bad shots.
Fun to watch. Yeah.
How was the point guard? How did he look on film?
He played great in the game I watched. He was making shots. He looked confident. I know he'd struggle in the exhibition game, but
he's going to be the key.
Yeah. Yeah. He was good.
All right. Well, listen,
the role guys are really good too. They look good to me.
We're gonna wrap this because I've got to get better. Before our next podcast, I need to get better. So I got to do my homework. I got to study up. I got to watch film. Whatever I can do.
A humbling episode.
This was really humbling. I got my tail between my legs, and maybe I need a nap first. Maybe I just need to kind of, feel a little bit better about myself right now because I think I don't know. My confidence is shaken.
It's been my favorite episode we've ever had, just so you know. I've really enjoyed it.
And there you have it. All right, listen, we'll talk to you after you're back from Vegas. Don't lose too much money out there gambling, playing blackjack, and we'll talk next week. There you have it. Goodman and Hummel podcast. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us, and happy hoops.